We'll save again, and then we'll put up the thing.
The demo's over! Thanks for playing! Oh, if you want to choose which route that I do when I finish England, vote on the link I put in the description of the game, and Divart. If there's a bug, tell me or send a note. Thank you very much. It's over!
Holy
shit. Ugh.
Ugh! My voice hurts.
Well, that was a fun way to end it.
Fucking guest appearance, I guess.
When you put in blue, I gotta do it.
Yeah. And, well...
So that was a thing.
That was a thing. That was...
a very long thing.
That was a very long thing, and... Okay, first, your thoughts.
My thoughts. I'm gonna be upfront. Like I said, there was a point where I just didn't want to play anymore. It got too convoluted. It seemed kind of boring, and like it is interesting. Like the whole car showing up, but still the Otome twist kind of threw me off because you had the mystery up front, and then it slams on the brakes to be an Otome romance game. And then suddenly it slams back into being another mystery, but it doesn't feel genuine. Like, I know we have that bits of for them to bond, but it seems like...
It's one of the
I know we had a gag, but it wasn't fully the gag that made us go no. It wasn't fully the ad-lib that made us reject it. It was part of it being us, of like, is that really it? Okay.
The gag, it was kind of like us trying to, at least in my opinion, voice our... Okay, I've played Otome games. I've played my fair share. And usually, even when you have multiple routes like this, you have a gradual build-up between the two characters. Your MC and the boy or girl that they're going to end up falling in love with. And a lot of this, because of how, like, dated a lot of the character voice acting was, like, the constant daws, the Coles, the
Arus.
The Arus.
The loves.
The
You notice we just straight up stopped saying it at some point.
That's why I was, like, gagging on it, because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, God. Same with the DAWs. A lot of that is kind of archaic, and at least in terms of the Hetalia fandom as a whole, a lot of I haven't heard someone say "daw" at the end of their sentence in a long time. Unless and it's... Something about it seems really disingenuous in regards to the, like, how the dialogue is presented between the two characters. It feels very forced, and at points it feels almost manipulative, and I don't endorse that. I get that she's lonely, that she's lost, she's looking for someone to, like, agree with her, but from the very outset, when you have England going tsundere over her before he's even met her, you kind of play your cards a little bit, and there's no mystery to it. You're done. When you have all the nation boys fighting over which one is going to get to take her out, so to speak, and you play your hand as obviously as that, there's just, it's a foregone conclusion. There's no mystery, there's no fun to it.
There's no really... Like, in Otome games, there is a risk of you not getting with the person, and with here, it doesn't really have that risk, because it kind of seems like they're always interested from the get-go.
Yeah.
Then again, I don't really play Otome games, so...
I've played a couple. I played my fair share, and I've also played my fair share of dating sims, and they're very dialogue-heavy, and that's one of the most important things, is that you make it feel natural. You make it feel warm and genuine and human between them. And when you throw in nationhood, Like the fucking genocide thing.
That was a yikes.
That was a huge yikes.
Also, I don't think you used the word correctly.
No, I think if that's what they were going for, yikes. Wow. Okay, dude,
Mass murder is probably what you were going for more.
that's not okay. That might be a difference in cultural sensitivities,
Yeah,
admittedly, but
because I think they are Spanish, so...
yeah, they are Spanish, but that is not something I was expecting, nor do I want to deal with in my game, in like a game I'm playing. I would have just outright, if it were me playing, I would have just stopped right then and there and have been done. Because she's touching on something that's unique. I haven't really seen since the Bloody Sunday strip, and that's nations killing their own people, and that's been done in canon. So I can see where they're coming from with that internal struggle, because that's one of the things that broke Russia, and it was treated with that kind of gravitas that it's due. But he didn't go on a mass murdering spree, and what he didn't do was genocide. And I really hope that was a mistranslation, because that's implying some really fucked up shit. And I'm not gonna play a game where the protagonist, who's recovering her memories, was even part of genocide. Like, personally had a hand in it. That's something that, and like, it's brought up in game. I mean, we all, of course, you can't really like gloss over that whole period in history, but I don't want to play through that. I'm not going to play through a game, say, of Germany between 39 through 45. I don't want to do that. Because of that whole rigmarole, that thing. Afterwards, fine. Prior, okay, cool, let's do that.
Or the Hetalia verse, where it takes place, but none of it's mentioned. They're kind of removed from the actual history part.
Yeah, at least in that regard, because, let's be completely frank here, that is some very sensitive, really painful stuff that is still hurting people to this day. Yeah, you don't play around with that shit, and I don't want to see this. I don't want to play as the protagonist in an Otome game where she commits genocide.
Mass murder's one thing, specifically targeting, that's something else entirely.
Because we don't know her boss's, like, we don't know her boss's motivations, and it's hand-waved away that it was the 2P who was responsible, but no, I can't. Even if it was the 2P responsible, I don't want to do anything with it. That's one of the reasons why I kind of threw my hands up. And even with England being involved with this, this is not too long, realistically, after everything would have happened. If this is in the modern day, because there's flat screen TVs, it would still have been in very recent memory for him. He would remember everything. Why would he be so lenient with her? Even if it was a 2P that was responsible for it, and she has to clean up the mess, he's just totally forgiving of it, and it feels very disingenuous and weird to me. But I come from a background that's completely different, admittedly. My family is Polish. We're Polish American. We have a direct line to all that point in history. And so it's a much more sensitive topic to me than it is to other people.
Yeah.
So.
Like, there's me who's like, I don't, like, care as much. Like, I'm a huge yikes, but it's like, yeah, it can be mass murder, and then because that's a common thing. Because it's like, again, we see that commonly with 2Ps and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, everyone's murdered. I'm like, okay, fine, we're doing this then. But, yeah. Still, even if I'm not that connected with it, I still don't like it. Of, like, the connotations, I should say. But... #yikes.
if we take if it is a mistranslation, let's just bounce back a little bit and go with if it's a mistranslation. And she just committed mass murder amongst her own people. She was supposed to go from north to east to south to west, and she mentioned overpopulation while she was in 2P mode.
Well, I did. They didn't.
Oh, I thought that was in the dialogue.
No, that was me.
Oh.
I was being smart.
Okay. Well, okay. She mentioned east to south to west, blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's a compass, that whole bit. So, she might have been just doing, like, stuff at the behest of her boss. Just killing people at the behest of her boss. And like I said before, that's something that you can play around with. That's some shit that has happened canonly in Italia, canonly, in the Bloody Sunday strip, and
Russia was forced to kill his own people, basically, during a protest.
Yeah, it was a protest, which happened. And he basically lost control of his own body. He had no sense of free will, and his body was basically being arrested for the sake of his bosses needing that extra firepower, which is horrifying if you think about it. And Russia was aware through the entire thing, and he was actively weeping on screen as he's shooting his own people. It's one of my favorite strips because it just poses all these moral quandaries. And
something I wish that got into the anime.
Same?
I was hoping from it from day one.
Same?
But we never got it.
Of course not. Of course not. We had to get Senpai to Rio. And the Valentine's Day thing, we had to get that instead.
Hey, Buon San Valentino is really important.
Yeah, well, so is Bloody Sunday.
Yeah, but we also didn't have to spend fucking 7 episodes spending most of the episode hyping up the Revolutionary War America storage cleaning either.
That's
and here
true.
we are.
And people still won't shut the fuck up about that. But anyway, about this game.
About it, yeah.
I'm impressed that you translated it between Spanish and... Let's go with some positives.
Yeah.
I'm impressed that you translated it between Spanish and English.
Yeah, it's super impressive.
That is very impressive.
Also, the art's really good.
The art is really good. Like, the face sets are really good. For the most part, it's pretty well coded. Like, we don't have any weird skipping frames. We don't teleport at random. There's no broken scripts.
Like, I will say this. While a lot of them are really archaic stereotypes, Germany and Japan were written really well. Like, you have a handle on them. Very good.
For the most part, yeah. Like, characterization-wise for those two, they were fine.
In England, up until the Otome part happened.
Yeah. Well, kinda, except for the baka 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 stuff that you'd occasionally get.
Yeah.
And the loves.
Well, again, that happened at the Otome part. Like, in the beginning, like, first act, he was pretty alright. Like, before she showed up. Which is why we, like, made the, whole joke of his personality suddenly snapped to change.
Yeah, that's true. But for the rest of them, it was very dated. Super duper dated. At least, it felt like it belonged 7-8 years ago. This was stuff that we would have seen at, like, conventions or in fan fiction dating around 2012, 2013.
Something they can still see in Dreamtalia to this day, and you know when it was written back in 2012.
Yeah, that the beginning of that game is incredibly dated in places.
It makes me sad on the inside, but I still stand by it. It's a product of the time.
It's a product of its time, and you can actually watch the evolution of the fandom as a whole and the language it uses as as Dreamtalia progresses. But
there's neither here nor there. So, recommendations. What do we give? Take out that fucking step puzzle. That drove me fucking insane.
Yeah, that step puzzle was not a thing. The constant fetch quests, I get it. It's an Otome game. The focus should be on the relationship and gameplay elements. You kind of shuffled things in fairly well, but a lot of it was go get the fruit, go find the boy, go get the key, and so on and so forth. And
which is fine, if it's for a visual novel sense, but sometimes you have the RPG thing sense, and so it just kind of breaks up the action.
It's hard to mix the two very easily. I get that. But when you transition from one to the other, and it feels very jarring, or in some cases, tedious, like that puzzle, the maze, the stepping maze, where you had to count your steps, that was tedious, man.
We couldn't even make, funny dialogue because we were so concentrated.
Yeah.
And, the orbs thing in there, there was no really consequence of, where the orbs were. It's hey, this is a thing, I'm gonna click on it. It wasn't really that hard. But then again, it might have just been one of those, hey, I'm putting it out here so I can get the demo out kind of thing. So I'm gonna look past that a bit.
It felt like padding to me. Something for me to take out? Please differentiate between the mass murder and the genocide thing.
Yeah.
Mass murder is indiscriminate killing. Just straight up, don't care, fuck that guy, fuck them, fuck you in particular. Genocide is specifically targeting people for death based on a characteristic of theirs, whether it's racially bent, religiously bent, so on and so forth. And they have completely different connotations to them. They're both horrible, but mass murder is more acceptable in the 2-piece sense. It's something I don't like, but it doesn't have as many
which it always makes me
connotations to it.
Make me cringe on the inside of all 2Ps are violent and bloodthirsty and selfish. And I'm ow,
yikes.
But then again, that's also chalked up to the stereotyping of all the characters. Flanderization,
yes. And it also kind of dates it as well, because I was there during the big boom on Tumblr of the 2Ps, and how that whole thing came into being. And that was very 2012, 2013?
Yeah, 2012 was when they launched. In a way.
Yeah. So, it's very indicative of the time period that they came from.
Mm-hmm.
And feels bad, man.
Mm-hmm.
Mundi feels bad.
Vanya feels bad.
Okay,
here's something else I just realized now. What makes England's route different from everyone else's? I know, no, none of the other routes have been made yet. So, I don't know how they're gonna differ. So, I don't know. It almost feels... I don't know if I'd want to go back and do the other routes, honestly. Because it's I don't know what they would give. But then again, it might be one of those things of some things are different, but it ends up the same way anyway. Because we're just looking at England's point of view currently, but I don't know. It also feels really long to be stuck with one person.
Well, that's not fair.
Then again, I don't know Otome games very well.
Okay, in order to build a nice, fleshed out relationship with a character, you need time to build it organically.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going through the MC in this case is going through an emotional trial. She's recovering her memories. She's coming to grips with stuff she's done in the past, which is fine. That's great. And all this can be done very well, but you can't force it. You can't speed through that.
Yeah, I know.
So, in this case, I'm fine with the amount of time it took, but I'm not satisfied with the amount of progress that was made.
Yeah.
Because they took that time, but she went hurtling towards that Desu ending. The Doki Doki shit.
Yeah. Maybe, balance it with some of that cutesy shit, the drama shit, more of the cutesy shit, the drama shit, but try to, make it more, because it's you get the cutesy shit, the domestic shit, and then just, murder! And just dragged out, let's go, let's fucking do this.
That reminds me.
Because why didn't he call anyone else? Why didn't England call anyone else for help?
That's true. Why didn't we? Why didn't we ever go learning to cook with her? Like we asked for?
Yeah! We asked, and it never happened. But I guess it's one of the things of, if they didn't do that, they would have, but...
Well, maybe that's something that would come in the full release.
Yeah, like, maybe in the end it's like, well, I can finally teach you how to cook. Ha 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 ha. And it's like, ha 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 ha, okay, I'll try not to kill you. Ha ha ha.
There also wasn't, like, a lot of showing her of their cultures.
Yeah.
Which is the whole reason they were battling back and forth to let her stay at their houses.
Mm-hmm.
So...
I guess the magic's a thing, but I don't know.
They don't really have a lot in common, do they? Outside
They have
of
magic. And they sure, like, hit on that hard.
And to answer your question about what could be different, you can do a lot with the other characters. One of the things I finished a while ago,
Arcade
the Otome
Spirits?
game. It wasn't Arcade Spirits, which is really good, but it's called, I think, it's from Ikemen. It's Midnight Cinderella, excuse me. And you have a smorgasbord of various dudes to hang out with, and they're all different based on their background. And all of them can offer you like a different perspective. Like you can date one of the royal guards, for instance. And because there's this power play between you, the princess, and your would-be husband, there's like quite a bit of this extra formality that you have to hop over in order to make him understand you're pursuing him on a romantic level.
Uh-huh.
And then another one, Louis, he's another prince from a different kingdom. He knows that you were a peasant before this and doesn't treat you with any respect.
Ah.
And it all depends upon how well they know the personality of you and blah, blah, blah. So she could totally do that.
Yeah.
But...
like, Germany is strictly formal.
yes. Granted, you picked a big cast for an Otome game.
Mm-hmm.
At least within, like, the realm of Hitalia, because... whoa, doggy! That's 9 characters.
That you have to write each a route for and redo the game several times. Because this took, like, a couple hours just to get this far. So it's like...
and technically, we didn't even finish the route.
Yep.
That's a lot. That's a big undertaking. And I'm impressed that you've taken that much on. It's a big thing to do. But at the same time, if you don't, if you don't flesh out one well, or well enough for this playthrough, what are the other ones gonna look like?
Mm-hmm. Unless they're all just gonna be copy-paste. In that case, it's like, oh.
I don't think so, given the amount of effort that they put in. And you've taken on a big plate, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's everything, though, that I can think of. Did her goods. Good, well-coded.
You might want to go back and have some more confidence in your own maps. Or practice on maps more. Because I notice a lot of default maps. And that always makes you go, oh, thanks. It makes me think of a rush job. And that's never good to have your players think that. But then again, I'm one who plays a billion of these games, so I've seen those maps over and over. So it's like maybe trying to because I know during the end you had a bit more creative maps, a bit more specifically maps you made your own. So it's like you try to do that more. Practice.
I'm more okay with using default maps because mapping is hard. Mapping is complex. It's a complex thing to get right, and for some people, it is the most tedious thing on earth. So, I'm okay with it because they put that extra time and skill into other stuff, like the face sets, the artwork, the coding, which was all very clean, and I liked it. So, them using default maps, meh. I'm okay with it for the most part. It's fine.
Okay.
Dialogue, far trumps that, as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's fair.
And maybe we're missing some stuff because of because of translation,
Yeah.
but it feels forced. It feels raw. It feels disingenuous. It just doesn't feel good, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Yeah, I think we said all we can about this game. So, yeah.
Oof.
Bada bing babadook. There's a big plate of lamb here. Oh. Oh, I didn't even think of that lamb. That's two.
Just sitting on a plate and bouncing.
But yes, so that's it from us. So have a good day, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let a witch capture your heart.
Or sit there and spoon feed you Satyr torch while your boyfriend looks on from the door frame and festers.
And that's why you need to watch out if you roll a 17 on your fucking dice.